Good afternoon, everyone. This is Dr. Jacqueline King. Got sound over there, Dr. Washington. Got some noise. I can hear everything in the background. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Dr. Jacqueline King, CEO and founder of Black Women Empowered. And I am back with another wonderful and brilliant man that I had the pleasure of meeting and being on a panel with, Dr. Kevin. I can't say Mwada. Is that right? I said it right. Dr. Mwada Curry Washington. How you doing, Dr. Washington?
I'm doing well. It is a pleasure to be a part of what's happening with you, Dr. King, and empowered Black women empowered. It is a. I was telling everybody about you. The students got really excited about you. I'm here at Grambling State University,
Yeah.
and I'm currently the chair of sociology and psychology. And so students were just in the office. So you said that you heard the background noise. We were transitioning. They had a lot to tell me about certain things, and one of the conversations was about Will, and student had just read the book, and so she was talking about something that I had said. I surmised based on my understanding of his life. So it's good to be with you.
Thank you. Before we get into this heavy conversation, which I know it's going to be, give him a little background. I mean, your. I know your bio is like a book, but give him a little background on your brilliance.
I'll listen to you. So that is part of it. Is of course what we just talked about is being the head of sociology and psychology. I did my undergraduate work at Grambling State University, so it is a pleasure and an honor to be here. My parents actually met here at Grambling. I've taught at several universities around the country, at San Francisco State University, Howard University, Morgan State, and so I've been around even University of Nebraska. So I've been at several universities doing the work, and the work has been about elevating the idea of consciousness among Black people. So that was when I was doing my dissertation here at Grambling. Well, I want to take it back. When I was in graduate school, I came back here to teach, and I was finishing my dissertation. While teaching, I developed two courses, and the two courses are, one is Introduction into African Black Psychology, and the other one is the Psychology of the Black Family. So I just taught that class today, the Black Psychology class, and so that's part of the fallout. The days is people coming through wanting to follow up on conversations about being in relationships and wholeness. We have studied in South Africa, did a Fulbright there where we looked at the Ubuntu concept. And so out of that, we've come up with this concept of Ubuntu psychotherapy. That is the understanding of everything being complete and whole when it's joined together. And so I'm also one of the past presidents of the Association of Black Psychologists. And I'm the current president of what's called Black Mental Health Matters. It's an international organization spearheaded by a brother out of Kenya, which is very exciting to know that we're on this platform, as you already know, about internationalizing this discourse. And I'm the vice president of World Mental Health Coalition, which is spearheaded by Dr. Bandy Lee, a psychiatrist who is of Korean descent, but she spent a lot of time studying in Africa. So she talks about the need for understanding global mental health concepts for our people. So here you have it.
You have a lot. We want to welcome all of our guests. Please share the broadcast. That's what we do. We want to make sure that the people who are not available to come on live, they can see it at another time. And my friend who's coming on Friday, Deidre Moore, Esquire. I'm going to be interviewing her Friday. Hello,
Wow.
Deidre. Hello. Yeah, she's an amazing woman too. So, Doc, we said we was going to talk about, we did the intergenerational trauma, but let's get to the meat and potatoes of the whole Will Smith and Chris Rock thing, because we know it's a lot deeper than what we saw. So I want to hear your take on it, and let's get into it.
So, there are many ways of examining the phenomenon. And as psychologists, we are trained, but also we understand that there are different dimensions of any situation that has to be examined before you come up with a conclusion and or a diagnosis. And so some could say that it was just a slight, and that there was humor, and Will took it the wrong way. Some would say that Chris Rock was out of order for talking about a woman with alopecia. Others would submit that it was the Oscars losing some level of credibility and awareness. So they created a condition by which Will Smith would sacrifice his career in some Masonic ritual. I've heard that particular theory postulated as well. And so the slap was sacrificing his career rather than sacrifice a family member. And so that is a part of the conversation. Some say that in that, then it was a staged event and it wasn't authentic or real. And all of these things have some level of I guess, merit to those that create the narrative. We want to unpack something that makes sound sense in the mental health realm. Not that those don't make sense, but when we talk about Will Smith's and his career, we can see that from the beginning of his career, there have been critics of him. There have been critics to suggest that he was not street enough, that he was not hood enough, that he was not hard enough, that he was not enough from the beginning of his career. And part of this is mentioned even in his book of how he was having to deal with this issue of presentation in certain spaces. That he didn't curse in his rap, so he was a clean rapper, so he was soft, and all of these things have been a part of his trajectory in entertainment. Even when he did do Fresh Prince of Bel Air, he was really not the best actor at the time, but he was the character that was chosen for. I mean, he's the person chosen for that character, and he developed his acting chops along the way, which is now to where we talk about the Oscars. And so there is a lot to this conversation, and you can read, if you're a behavioralist, you can understand certain body language and elements there. But I want to start with this idea of not being enough, right? And so then trying to be the model citizen, the model black man, the model black boy, to be the one that corrects certain things. And over a period of time, that could cause a great deal of fatigue. We have to be clear that we're trying to counter various narratives about who we are. And you cannot live a life healthy countering a narrative that you did not even create in the first place. And so we run trying to counter a narrative. We're trying to counter the narrative of being the marginal black man. We countering the narrative of being unintelligent, countering the narrative of being anything unacceptable. So we're running this narrative of this idea of countering a narrative as opposed to standing in our position of who we are. And so then you talk about creating this narrative of being a good father and being a good husband and being all of these things. As a result of this, there is fatigue. And so we see then that any person has a breaking point, and that breaking point occurs at the recent Oscars. And this is not anything to be surprised about because everybody has a breaking point. We just talking about, we see his breaking point on television, on screen, and it was worldwide.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's not of course, he's not the first person, and he won't be the last. Let's say, how do we address that not being good enough?
So, when we talk about, again, the counter narrative, trying to be the super Negro, trying to be the alternative Negro, I think that's also part of our concern as a community, that this was done in the Oscars in front of those people. Let's be clear, it is not about in front of those people. I have never, I'm not at the point of making European Americans my parents. I want to please and satisfy my parents. They are not my parents. So it matters not if it's in front of other people at the Oscars. Let's talk about a real slap in the face. If it is true that the Oscars is named for Oscar Micheaux, and there's never been a discussion about a black man, and Oscar Micheaux, who was a genius when it came to the film industry, a pioneer in film industry in this country, and you never acknowledge him, that is a slap in the face. We talk about the issue of if it is named for him and the kind of roles that African Americans have gotten awards for that have been very demeaning to black people. Don't talk about the Will Smith slap as a setback when you talk about winning the award for Gone with the Wind, or winning the award for Monsters Ball, or winning the award for Training Day, when we know that that was not the best role that I've ever seen Mr. Washington in my life. I thought that the role of Malcolm X was the premier, a very powerful role at that time that was worthy of an
Come on now.
award. So we want to be clear about the slap in the face, and even the trophy. If you don't even say Oscar Michaud as the name, the trophy is based on a divine concept, patah, out of ancient Kemet of Egypt. So the trophy that they use is exact image. It's a slap in the face to steal somebody's image and iconography of excellence and put it as your particular trophy and never give credence to that. That's a slap in the face. So there are many slaps. So let's not get twisted about the slap in the face concept, because the slap in the face has been going on for generations. So it's not about embarrassing in front of other people. The real issue is that, why have you never acknowledged where this thing has come from in the first place? Other things that the Academy does not honor the best of who we are as a people anyway, right? So we're not even concerned about that. We say, oh, in front of those people in the highest award in the land. The movies that they have deemed to be premier have never been necessarily anything impressive to me. And I would suggest that even the role of King Richard, imagine that, the name King Richard based on a European person, the concept of King Richard, not even giving the man his own credence, Mr. Williams, right? You know, your name King Richard is going to take him back to England. But the point I want to get here too is that that probably was not one of the best roles I've ever seen Mr. Smith in the first place. I would think that Ali was a pretty good role. So there are many. I mean, where he transformed his entire body to be. I mean, that's a heavy piece that he did. So we want to be clear that there's been a lot of slapping in the faces of Black folks going on for a long time. So coming from the Academy. But when we reduce it down to this slap, we want to suggest that there is more to it that meets the eye. Again, not being enough, good enough, not being able to be impressive enough. And so we see that there is a breaking point where, even if you look at the relationship of the entanglement that Jada just released a year or so ago about their relationship. So you mean to tell me that a boy is more of a man to my wife than I am? I'm still not enough, right? Even talk about their relationship, and potentially this conversation about being an open relationship. And usually somebody initiates that when they have already engaged in something else, someplace else, and they want to just simply be validated and verified in their action by saying, this is what we have chosen to do, when they have already done the act. That is an act of betrayal of relationship. That is power differential. That is a process of not being enough, that you're not enough man, so I need to find other partners to be able to get to a certain point. If we even examine an interview that she does, Jada Pinkett does, in respect to honoring Tupac, and she describes in the interview how much she loved him and how they were more than a friend, and that kind of love comes once in a lifetime. This is even after she and Will are married, and then even sometime later, just recently, talking about how she doesn't know what love is. That means then that if you make that statement publicly, and you've been married to somebody 20 years, you don't know what love is, then he's still not enough, right? So when the statement comes out about alopecia, about the woman being bald, and her response, it was, I'm not going to be not enough again. And in his book, and he talks about him coming into an understanding of himself. Even in his acceptance speech, he talks about our job, our role is to protect. So something is shifting in his 50s that he's not willing to take, that he took in his 20s. Something is changing in him, right? And so we want to recognize that there is an awakening. Am I justifying the slap? No. I want to go back and say the position of the slap was, and I will not be not enough again.
Wow, you said a lot. Ugh. Let me just ask you. So Jada, because yeah, what's your take on her role? Because I mean, to me, that's that's your husband. You're supposed to be there for him. You married for better, or for worse, and rich or poor, whatever your vows are. What is your what's your take on her? Because if she hadn't gave him the side eye, he probably wouldn't have went up there.
Right. So, responding to her discomfort. Now, when the joke was made, they both laughed.
He did.
They were in a position of receiving an acceptance of humor from somebody that they knew. It's like it was kind of like, okay, let's see where he's gonna take this, right? So that was, if you kind of read the look, that's my take. Let me see where he's gonna go with this one. And when he goes there, Jada gives a look as to say, "Well, you went there, oh really, again?" So it was as if it was a repeat of something. And if you go back to 2016, you will see that, or sometime earlier, that Chris Rock had used them as the butt of his joke before.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't the first time. So when I read her nonverbals, it seemed like, and I've been around Black women all my life, that looked like you going there again. It wasn't like this is the first time, like, why you go there? It wasn't that look. It was like, oh, so we back there again. As if, almost as if I told you about this before. Which means to me, is just my read. I don't know them, hadn't talked to them. I'm just simply saying my read on it was that there had been a conversation. I believe that there had been some conversation about certain things, and there was a breach in their relationship that he went there again. That is Chris Rock, and that leads to the slap rather than a fight, right? Because I would think that this came up in the class as well. That what man slaps another man? Well, because they think about punching. Well, if it's something that catches you off guard at some level, you might swing and punch, because if you examine Chris Rock's position initially, listen, once he gets a slap, his right fist is balled up, prepared to punch, and then it releases, which means that's the natural response, is that I'm going to punch. So the slap seemed more of a reprimand than simply a position of, I'm going to impose power and will over you, right? And then the statement was, I told you to keep my wife's name, right? Keep my wife's name out of your mouth. You can hear a precursor. I told you, right? Keep my wife's name out of your mouth, which means there's something else to this narrative, that, it is what it is. Now Will Smith has gone on and apologized and said A, B, and C. I would submit that his first set of responses are more authentic than the rehearsed ones, or the practiced ones, or the contrived ones that come up later about the apology.
Mm-hmm.
So her role is one of something indicating that something was richer in the conversation, and then it gets down to, and you're gonna let him get away with that again. And that then becomes the move to go and defend what he thinks is right. Now, again, is it the right move at the right time? I don't know what I would do in that situation. People are very good at being, as some would suggest, a Monday morning quarterback, right? This is what I would do. But I want to be clear that everybody has a call cord, a line that once crossed, you do the things that you probably wouldn't think to do. And I think that there was a line that was crossed.
Yeah. Okay, so now we're going to move on to Chris, because I'm just reading. I mean, I never really followed Chris. I watched some of his comedy, but I didn't know that. Actually have a friend that went to school with him, said that he was bullied and picked on in school. So he's had a life of being picked on. Let's talk about that.
So, when we look at even everybody hates Chris, when we look at that, and there's bullying. So the way of negotiating that becomes humor, and the way to have the best humor when you're being picked on is to have the most cutting humor.
Mm,
So if you have something that's so cutting, that's so painful for somebody, it neutralizes them to come for you because because they don't want something to be revealed about them. So they know if I come for this guy, he knows something about me, and this will be revealed. So I need to watch myself. So then that becomes a way of fighting the bully, so that the bully doesn't bully anymore, and you never have to be physical because I got one more thing on you, almost like what the 45th president I was always doing about I got one more story on you. So that's a bullying move. That's a counter bullying move. That's also bullying, and so we can see this happen with Chris Rock's humor. I've had a chance to happen to just meet him just briefly in New York with some time ago. It was just a pleasant exchange. It's about his documentary "Good Hair" that I was complimentary of. But the point I want to make here is that there was um, some part of his humor moves beyond humor. I know for me, there was a joke that was told about the actor Chris Reeves when he had just been paralyzed. And he had been in the role of Superman. And so his Chris Rock statement was, we can't have our Superman in a wheelchair. I'm paraphrasing there, but it was
right.
making mockery of an accident. And people say, oh, that's just humor. If if my humor has to come at the expense of your inconvenience, that's not humor. At your mishap, at your misfortune. And if you fast forward from that event to the recent event, is still about my humor is at the expense of your misfortune. And it's certain people that you just don't come for like that in your family, in your circle at certain times. Maybe in the household, you kind of tell that joke and it floats. Right, you kind of laugh it off. All right, Chris, knock it off. Y'all know what's going on. Yeah, yeah, you're right because you have a chance to do damage control. But now you're in front of the public doing this, and so now you're attacking someone around something that they're sensitive about, and I think that becomes the real problem of not knowing how to cut that off. You're not under attack from someone else. So I'm not quite sure Chris Rock knows how to cut some things off. So you know what, this is out of order. His response was, my joke was inappropriate. So he even backed off and acknowledged that there was something about his humor that was off. So we have to be clear then that there are a lot of there's equal culpability all over the place for these sets of events, and they are psychological, in nature, that people are dealing with past pains and hurts and traumas, and all this stuff comes into play in a space, and every last one of us has something going on with us, some things that are happening with us that we could always use a tune-up for with every last one of us, me included, right? So we need to have a tune-up of somebody to realign us, a therapist, someone else to come in to facilitate us and say, you know what, you kind of misreading stuff, and I think that's where we are with everybody in this situation. Let's realign some stuff about what's happening with us. So that is what I would say. Now, I will say that I've since talked to some other people, and one brother said that Chris Rock was outside of some event that they were protesting in New York, and he kind of made fun of what they were saying, and some women were going to go and slap him, and so they had to have the women talk down from going to slap Chris Rock, and so that happened. That was mentioned to have happened. A time I had someone else to say that you know what, there was a time he did something I wanted to go punch him. So he has his brand of humor is often inappropriate for certain people and leads people to want to go and physically aggress against him. And that's also part of the process of dealing with some stuff from childhood and so forth and so on. That, I mean, we can see, and the humor. I mean, so some things are funny, right? But then when the humor becomes hurtful, and everybody says that there's some truth in some humor, all humor, yes, I'm with that. However, there's certain people that I just would not just simply come out and tell a joke about in their downfall.
And I understand what you're saying, but when you look at people like Chappelle, and Chappelle is very famous. Chappelle can cut to the core, and you know it, and I know it. What's the difference?
Right? But when Chappelle cuts to the core, it's not at the expense. It's a point to be made, right? Even people say that Richard Pryor, when Richard Pryor did his jokes, he may have been talking about someone, but I would know who that person was,
Right, you're right. He
right?
didn't do. Yeah, he wasn't talking about somebody that was
That was right there, right in
yeah.
front, right? His characters could have been a whole lot of people. I mean, he made fun of pastors all the time. I remember one about "We Shall See" and Black folk can make a song out of anything. I'm sure he'd seen some pastor do the role, but it wasn't about the person at the time, and it was about the
I got
situation.
you. Yeah.
And that part was humor. Uh, uh, Chappelle has some level of commentary in his humor. His humor is about something that you need to take a look at deeply. It's not simply just for the sake of just joking on somebody. Right? We see a different response to something happening with. I'm not quite sure exactly when it happened with DC Youngfly, another comedian, where someone came up on stage and aggressed against him, and he actually punched the guy and laid him out. And I think if I can see the image, it probably seems like the guy they carried and walked out was about 2 or 3 times DC Youngfly's size. But he says, "Listen, what I do is a gift from God, and nobody's going to threaten me against that. But furthermore, I'm not going to." Um, I've been through some things. I've been traumatized. And so people recognize then that they've been traumatized, then they're operating, acting out in their trauma. Heavy work. So even comedians, right? Most of the time, the comedians have indeed experienced some deep pain. If you look at again Richard Pryor's life, there's pain there, and
Yes.
so they find ways of creating humor. Again, we know that there's some pain in their lives, but there's a coping mechanism for humor. You see unchecked pain is Robin Williams, right? So here's a Canadian, a European Canadian comedian, a very brilliant actor and comedian. He did the things that he wanted to do. He was a comedian. He did that. He wanted to act in a role and get an award for a serious role. He did that, and still it was not enough. And so there that you have suicide. So my point is, understanding the humor, the role is we have to also deal with the pain that we have, and that's where we have to have some realignment. So I'm not saying that Chris Rock doesn't cut through, to the white meat on certain things. However, I have not seen him just simply make light of somebody right in front of him. I mean, really playing a dozen concept. I mean, playing a dozens as children, that's one thing. But then to play the dozens in front of everybody else, going in front of the campus on the microphone, playing the dozens, it's not how we play the dozens. We don't do the dozens like that. And
Well, here's something that I observed. So the moderators or the hosts, they were doing some brutal jokes too. I don't know the white lady that they did a joke on it talking about you didn't get an award. I mean, that was kind of cold too. They did some cold jokes. What's the difference?
yep, it wasn't about a physical vulnerability, one,
Okay.
and it
Okay.
was not about an issue that is very sensitive as it is for hair to Black women,
Okay.
right? So we have to recognize that the humor in part, and this is something that I have a disdain for within our community, is that we're perpetually apologizing for what happens to us naturally. Oftentimes, females talk about, I wear the wig or wear this. It's a protective hairstyle, right? I'm protecting myself, and clearly, she has enough resources, Jada, to have put on something on the head, and nobody would have ever known the difference. But the point is, she chose to have her hair cut, and in part it could have been alopecia. In part it could have been, I choose to do this, and there's an apology around that. I do this because I got alopecia. We always apologizing. That thing bothers me because we don't know how to honor ourselves. It's okay. It's hair, but we make a big deal out of it, um, because we want to have good hair, and good hair is tied to being straight, and then straight and goodness is tied to whiteness, and that's a whole nother conversation, and that becomes a part of that particular joke. Now, for a comedian and acting and winning the award, it's pretty serious, and I don't make light of that. It's wonderful to be acknowledged by your contemporaries. It really is. And so, you come back and you act again and try something else again. And for some people, it is hurtful to make those jokes. However, when you make the joke that if I've talked to you about, hey, all right, listen, and then going through what he has gone through publicly, Will Smith saying, what kind of man are you to have your wife, your woman, talk about an entanglement, and so that's the butt of jokes anyway for among a black community. So yet again, one small thing that you do, it could have been a small thing, but it was as you already know, the proverbial straw that broke the camel's back. And we all have that moment, and we have to put ourselves in check. And it's tough. Sometimes it is tough. It is tough. I've had a breaking moment recently where I had to reel myself in at work. I mean, it's just tough. It's like I've had enough, right? And so because of my own stuff, that I have to check in with somebody saying, "Here's what happened." So, we all have those moments.
Yeah, I can remember this was when I was in corporate America. And I'll share this little story. Um, One of the engineers sent out a group email, and I don't know what it was about the email, but it set me off. And when I replied to everybody, and I went in so hard. And then later when I was like, really wasn't that bad, whatever he said. But whatever it was, it made me snap. I couldn't pull it back because
In
everybody
that
saw that.
moment, right? It was that
Everybody
moment.
saw that email. So I do know that what you're saying is absolutely true. So it seems to me that more people are on the side of Chris Rock and the way he handled it. Where do you stand on that?
Yeah. So, it is amazing to accept, to receive a slap like that. He didn't lose his footing. Uh, quite admirable in many ways. Snap back, gather himself, and went forward with his humor, right? And he even said, "This is a night that will a historical night." He
Yes.
knew that this would be a part of the Academy for perpetuity, and at the expense of the slap in the face. How did he handle it? That's one thing, handling and how they're thinking about responding. I mean, there's hurt there as well. I mean, how do you walk around and somebody says, "Man, Chris Rock, Chris, man, nigga slapped a sit." I mean, you got to think about that discourse in the community alone. And then how do you talk down people who love you from not retaliating against someone else that causes a bigger mess? Right. So, and then even hearing um, uh, Will Smith's son talk about this is what we do. So it's a lot in this that will live on unless people learn to squelch this. So yes, that was a powerful way of handling the situation of not retaliating. However, let's look at it again. When you talk about the size differential between the two and the situation, I mean, there's a lot to be said there. Would Will Smith have gone up there and slapped somebody, said Jamie Foxx, for example, someone of equal size or some size of someone else, even larger? Somebody said Cruz, right? Would he have Terry Crews? Would he have slapped Terry Crews for telling a joke like that? So and probably not, right? People say that, or some even say that if it had been a white man, would he have done the same thing, right? And so all of these things come up as what ifs. And so I think then that we talk about Chris Rock's position. I'm not going to press charges. I'm not going to do those things, means that there's something about character, but also there's something else about history. And I would submit that there's something else that is going on that contributes to not pressing charges and standing there. And that is, I think I knew I crossed the line this time. And I would submit that it was more about the relationship and maybe feeling like, I breached the relationship in a way that, you know what, I did it. And that I would think that sometimes we all get there too. Said like you did with the email. I did it. I really messed this one up, didn't I? And I think we all have to come to that conclusion that we all make mistakes. Mm-hmm. I think that there are a lot of mistakes made here, but when you keep making mistakes, it's not a mistake, it's a lifestyle. So certain people have to check their lifestyle and pull things into check. And I would submit here then that everybody needs to do a lifestyle check. That is, that when you start seeing a series or a history of behaviors, if you start seeing a history of encounters, you then have to look at it's not simply an incident, right? If I'm have some infidelity in my relationship, it's not just, oh, I made a mistake. It's a lifestyle. If I keep picking up that which is making me inebriated or high over and over again, it's not a mistake. It's a lifestyle. Mm-hmm. When you hurt people who are your friends, it's not a slip of the tongue. It's a lifestyle, right? And so I think at any given point, as humans, we need to check our patterns of behavior, and if they are not elevating and bringing out the best within one another. Even in humor, we can bring out the best in one another. Even in challenges, we can bring out the best in one another. If it's not bringing out the best, and we're doing this consistently, then we need to check ourselves. If we keep hurting people who are hurting, then something is wrong with that, right? Something's wrong with me if I have to hurt you and I know that you're hurting and I'm going to pounce on your pain. That's something wrong with me. I need to check out. And that's the call out to Chris Rock, as if there's a perpetual process of pouncing on somebody in pain.
Right.
Going through something.
The saying, hurt people. And
right.
If you look at I've been reading up on him, and like if he's been bullied all his life. They say he was bullied on when he was doing Saturday Night Live. Somebody beat him up or threatened to beat him up or something. I'm talking about that's not even that long ago.
No.
So he's been bullied all his life. So what do you have to say about that? Hurt people.
We know that hurt people, right? We know that is a part of the process. And so this is the call out to get into alignment, right? To really check ourselves, right? So I want to say that this is a good time for, this is Black manhood mental health call out, that we have lived in a space where we have been bullied collectively, right? We've been traumatized collectively. We've been told that we're not enough collectively. And this is a call out for us to get some things in order. I don't want to always make these matters about persons and personalities, but to recognize that there's a narrative and a responsibility within myself I need to check. And if I have to become elevated in somebody's pain, I need to check myself, because that is a masochist, right? To jump on somebody's pain, that's masochism. There is something off with that, and we have to recognize that in that offness we can readjust certain things. And so this is a call out for understanding our collective trauma as a people, and to know that we have not been good enough. We don't speak good enough English, that we don't have the right degrees, that we don't have the right pedigree. I mean, if you look at the former President Barack Obama, and having gone through all of their premier institutions in front of Congress, Representative Wilson stands up and says, "You lie." After doing all those things, that crossing all of those checking all those boxes of Columbia and Harvard Law, you're still not enough, right? So we live in that space of not enough as a people, but we have to recognize that others white culture, Europeanness, is not the standard by which we are to judge our enoughness.
Yes, I
That,
like. Say that
that-
again.
right? So that is not the standard by which we need to judge our enoughness is in European standards, right? That we are more than enough. When we recognize that we have come from greatness, if we recognize just the contemporary history of a population to have been lynched, raped, maimed, mangled, otherwise harmed, and still we are here tied to Maya Angelou's poem "Still I Rise." If that is still a situation, then what is in us, right? That is so great and wonderful that it keeps coming back in spite of everything that suppress it. The late Desmond Tutu says that it is the idea of Ubuntu. He says that it makes us rise up human in spite of all those things that are designed to make us feel less than. Right. So what is that? Right. So this is a call for that healing to know that we are more than enough. And I would submit to people right now listening that if you're in a relationship with someone and they are perpetually making you not feel like you're enough, just know that to someone you are more than enough. Right. What I mean by that is that when you're in a relationship with someone, there is a situation by which you will never unpack all there is to know about who I am in the whole time that we can spend together in a relationship, because there are nuances that can come out in certain situations that we can be exposed to one another in a totally different way just by hitting the right buttons. We're not just the same person. We are more than enough. And the same thing for someone else, that even though somebody has said that you don't jump high enough, you don't run fast enough, when somebody is a narcissist, is self-absorbed, wants to be satisfied, they in your relationship with them, you will never be enough. But we know that you are more than enough within yourself, that there is someone out there that honors and respects you. And I want to say this also about relationships, because people catch this idea of the slap. I want to catch this out too about working on getting honor, right? Maybe that's a slap to show that I want my wife to honor me. You can have love, but the real issue is love can be there, but if there's no honor in a relationship, right? And the honor supersedes the love, because the love can come and go, but the idea of honor, and that's the thing that I don't believe had happened in a relationship, is Will Smith may not have felt honored in his relationship. And I want to go back and say here's why it's important for us. We have been dishonored as a people. But when we stop and we honor ourselves, when we honor the wounds through which we have passed, when we honor the legacy of our people, not that it was perfect, when we stop and honor the fact that we exist, that we persist, that we are here, that we are children of those who would not die, there is a lot to stop to honor right here, to say that even if you don't give me your Oscar award, you can shove the award up your buttocks, because I know that I'm the standard by which you were basing your academy on in the first place. How do we know this? Because the statue is based on Ptah. Ptah is said to be the author of the oldest book in the world, the book of the Ptah Hotep, which speaks about moral teaching. So the origin of writing comes from that particular book itself. So if your statue is based on Ptah, is based on brilliance, and brilliance is part of the African continent, and I have come from the continent, I am a child of those brilliant individuals. Thus, I'm always more than enough. We don't honor our legacy. We don't honor our greatness. And when we begin to give honor to that which is oppressing us, we become oppressors of ourselves and one another.
This is so good. I'm asking audience, please share, 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 because every Black and brown person needs to hear this. And we also need to be honoring one another. We spend a lot of time tearing each other down. Even, women looking at, who she thinks she is. She thinks she all that. That's what BWE is for, to bring us together, to unite us, because together we can get a lot more done than we can separated. And I could keep you on like all day. We're gonna have
Dr.
to
King,
put.
you said something. I was gonna get this right. You know what? I jumped in. Because you said that hurt people hurt people.
Uh-huh.
We had a business called Restoring Ancestral Memories, and our motto was only empowered people can empower people. So we
Okay.
want to say that when you do what you do about being empowered, only empowered people can empower people. Right? And this is what you're doing. You are empowering people, but you have to operate from a position. But when you have this insecurity, this frailty, and this is where the cleansing work, and we can carry, we need to carry this on even more to talk about Black men and mental health, Black women and mental health,
We are. You're a
relationships.
regular now, so you
Listen,
might.
so we need to talk about the relationships. There's a lot to delve into in layers, but I want to make sure that people get this: is that we have to do our own cleansing, our own purifying, our own organizing, and that is when we begin to honor who we are, honor the fact that we are worthy of being honored, carrying ourselves like that, honoring our ancestors, acknowledging them. Anytime you spend a US dollar, you are honoring a European ancestor. The question is, have you stopped today and honored Big Mama and Mud Deer and Uncle Buck and Aunt Lucy and Paw? Have you honored them in your genealogy, those that took pig guts and made them into chitlins? I'm not talking about eating chitlins. My point is say that they took nothing and made it into something so that we could be here today. Do we stop and honor them to know that we are the children of those who would not die?
Come on now.
When you step and honor that, and every time you move, you recognize that you are a seed of a seed of a seed of a seed of the seed. You don't walk around apologizing to anyone for your existence. You simply know how to stand in the power of knowing that you are here because you've been divinely ordained to be in this spot. We have to stop apologizing for our existence. But first of all, we have to give honor to those that came before us, honor those that are within us and those that are coming from us. And before there's elevation, there has to always be honor. Before I can be elevated, I have to first of all honor. And so, Sister King, I honor you for all the work that you're doing. When you said, come, I said, I'll be there. I honor you in the middle of the day because I feel that it is imperative to do so. I am honored to be a part of your journey. I thank you for including me to be a part of yours and all those that are watching. I thank you. I honor you. We have a YouTube channel called Speak Black to Me. We talk about some of these concepts. We take people back to the Gambia. We have a trip coming up May 15th through the 28th, 29th in the Gambia. We take people back to reaffirm who they are. If the continent of Africa is a place by which we have had our relationship severed with ourselves and with our family, we go back and repair there. We connect them with the family of Alex Haley, Kota Kinte. We're doing work in Kota Kinte Village. So we're repairing certain things there. We're doing things in the education sector. We're doing things with real estate. We're just doing things in herbs and healing and repair the body. We're doing those things because it is important to make the connection back from whence we have come. We were taken out via human trafficking process. It wasn't a slave trade. It was human trafficking, exploitation, not the issue of slavery. Not ancestors were never slaves. They were enslaved. They were sodomized and brutalized by someone else. Mm-hmm. But I have the capacity to honor them. And so the honor says, let's travel back. Let's connect. We stay at a Black man's hotel, Hotel Tamala. He also has Kalimba and Balafon and two others. A Black man owns the hotels. We're there. It's a resort hotel. It is beautiful.
Wow. You said you were gonna take me, so
come on. So I'm done. I'm saying,
that's
come on, y'all. Let's go.
So I know you've got books. I guess you have books and stuff. Share with our audience how they can follow you. If you have any information that you want to share to get them to connect with you, do that.
We are revising two books. One is Elevating the Warrior Spirit in Black Men. It is about the issue, part of the issues we talked about here about healing, health, and holism for Black men. We have doing one on Black marriage. We have to revise that one as well. So we in the revision stage of those two books, especially because we want to be able to empower Black marriages. I am the program director for Black Marriage Day, and so we're excited about that. We have a YouTube channel, as I mentioned, Speak Black to Me. Speak Black to Me. If you're going to
I
speak to
love
me, then
that.
speak Black to me, right? And so we talk about speaking Black to me. Also, Mawata Speaks, MWATA, Mawata Speaks. .com. We have that as a website. And then as a therapist, I am also a therapist and a coach. So we do Black Love coaching. That is done through Nyansapo Empowerment. Ninsapo is spelled N as in Nancy, Y as in Yankee, A as in Apple, N as in Nancy, Nyansapo, S as in Sam, A as in Apple, P as in Paul, O as in Oscar, Nyansapo Empowerment.com. NyansapoEmpowerment.com. So that's where you can find us during the therapeutic work. So we also do Ubuntu psychotherapy. So it's really exciting about the healing, repair, the restoration of a great people. Because once we know who we are and really know who we are, and that was the main message in the Lion King when James Earl Jones says, "Know who you are." Right, that voice says a lot, and we have to always know who we are.
I have so enjoyed. The time went by so fast. Um, will you come back?
You just call me and we're here. Thank you so much.
Yeah, we got to continue this because you have so much wisdom, so much knowledge, and so much empowerment for our people. And that's what we need. We have to continue to lift up, encourage. That's what BWE is: encourage, inspire, and motivate. That's what we do. So you have definitely inspired me. All of our listeners, please type yes in the box if you will share this broadcast. I ask that every day. You can also share where you're tuning in from, but we need this shared all across all of our social media. We're live now on Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook, and we will be restreaming it on our YouTube channel and some of our other pages momentarily. So thank you so much, Dr. Washington. Like I said, I could listen to you all day. When we were together on the panel, I was like, I didn't get enough of him. I'm looking him up
Thank you.
because I need him, you know, telling the truth to the people. But
Mm,
I thank you so much.
thank you.
And
I was saying the same thing about you. I said, yeah, I like Dr. King. She
I know
dropped.
I told my friend, I said we was checking each other out because we were checking our minds out, weren't we?
That's it.
That's how it went, right?
That's it.
And we have a lot of work to do. And I'm willing to work with you to help you get what your vision is, and I know that you're willing to help me with my vision, and that's what it's all about: working together for one cause for our people.
Yes.
So God bless you. Thank you,
Bless
everybody, and we'll be back Friday. And Deidre Moore, JVR, she's on right now. She is an attorney out of New York. Bad sister, bad sister. You got to come and check her out. She has a book uh, um, about storytelling and generational history. And so she's going to come back and talk about her book. And she is, I mean, she's a real queen. Uh, uh, I love you so much. I love you so much, Queen. What's what we call each other, Queen, Queen Deidre. And looking forward to talking with you Friday. And everybody, tell everybody that the Queen Deidre is going to be on Friday, and we could. That's a Friday at 11 o'clock. We're going to put it down. And Dr. Washington, if you have some other great people that you want, I know you gave me the other sister, and we're going to connect. You know, send them my way because I love to interview people that, of course, bring some value and inspiration to our audience.
Thank you so much. We know a few people.
I know
Uh,
you do. I
we
know you
enjoy.
do.
We're thankful that we know the King. How about that?
Amen. Hallelujah. God bless everyone. Until the next time, go in peace.